Okay. What we are going to learn today?
Today we are going to learn dividend policy.
Dividend policy? Let's enjoy the video.
What is dividend and what is dividend policy?
What is dividend? Dividend is a regular redistribution from earnings. The payments made to stockholders from a firm's earnings. What is dividend policy? Dividend policy refers to the way firm pays dividends to its shareholders. It is important as it influences investors' decisions to purchase the stocks. Next, we move to cash dividend payment procedures.
There are 4 steps that a firm will take in order to pay cash dividend, which are:
First, declaration date. It is the date on which Board of Directors declare the dividend. Second, date of record. It is the date of which investors must own shares in order to receive the dividend payment. Third, ex-dividend date. It is 2 days before the date of record, the day a stock trades ex-dividend, which is exclusive of dividends without the right to receive the current dividend. And lastly, the payment date. It is the day a dividend is paid to the shareholders. Usually, it takes 2 or more weeks before shareholders who own shares on the date of record to receive their dividends.
Relevance and irrelevance of dividend policy. We are going to cover 3 things. First is residual theory, second is irrelevance theory, and the third one is the arguments for dividend relevance. The relevance and irrelevance of dividend policy. Residual theory of dividends. Residual theory says that dividend payments should be viewed as residual, which is the amount left over after all acceptable investment opportunities have been undertaken. There are 3 steps for this approach. Step 1. Determine the optimal level of capital structure, which is we need to know the new financing or investment for the company. Step 2. Using the optimal capital structure, estimate the total amount of equity financing needed to support the expenditure. The equity needed usually will be told in the question. Step 3. Use retained earnings to meet the equity requirement. If there is an excess of retained earnings, then we will distribute the surplus amount or the residual as dividends. Irrelevance theory. Miller and Modigliani theory says that in perfect financial markets, where there are certainty of information, no taxes, no transaction costs, or other market imperfections, the value of a firm is unaffected by the distribution of dividends. There are 3 reasons. First, the firm's value is determined solely by the earning power and risk of its asset investment and not necessarily by the distribution of dividend. Second, if dividends do affect value, they do so because of the information content, which signals management's future expectations. The third one is the clientele effect. Clientele effect assumes that specific investors are attracted to different company policies and that when a company's policy changes, investors will adjust their stock holdings accordingly. Arguments for dividend relevance. Gordon and Liner come up with a theory named bird in the hand theory. Bird in hand is a theory that suggests investors prefer dividends from a stock to potential capital gains because of the inherent uncertainty of the latter. Because current dividends are less risky, investors will lower their required return and thus boosting stock prices.
There are 6 factors that affecting dividend policy. The first one is legal constraint, next contractual constraint, and third is internal constraint, fourth growth prospect, 5 owner consideration, and last one is market consideration.
Okay. There are 3 types of dividend policy. The first one is constant payout ratio policy. The second one is regular dividend policy. The third one is low regular and extra dividend policy. Number 1. Constant payout ratio policy. The dividend payment for this policy is based on percentage of earnings to shareholder. This policy gives lump sum dividend. The disadvantage of constant payout ratio policy is if the firm's earnings goes down or are volatile, the dividend payment also will fall down. That's why investors view volatile dividends as dangerous and risky, which can lead to lower share price. Number 2. Regular dividend policy. The payment is based on fixed ringgit of each period, and this policy also provides shareholders with positive information shows that the firm doing well. The firm that use this policy also usually will increase the regular dividend once earnings are proven to be reliable. Okay. Number 3. Low regular and extra dividend policy, which is also known as extension of regular. This dividend policy is based on paying a low regular dividend supplemented by an additional dividend when earnings are higher than normal.
Other forms of dividends. There are 3 other forms of dividends, which are stock dividends, stock splits, and stock repurchase.
Stock dividends. Stock dividend is a dividend that is paid in stock or share rather than in cash because of insufficient cash or the firm wants to immediate sell off its stocks. There are advantages and disadvantages of stock dividends. The advantage of stock dividends are the company conserves needed cash and signaling effect to the shareholders that the firm is retaining cash because of lucrative investment opportunities. However, the disadvantage of stock dividends include the cost of issuing the new shares, taxes and listing fees on the new shares, and other recording costs. Stock splits. Stock split is a recapitalization that affects the number of shares outstanding, par value, earnings per share, and market price. The rationale for a stock split is that it will lower the price of the stock and makes it more attractive to individual investors. However, the opposite of a stock split is reverse stock split. It will reduce the number of shares outstanding and raises stock price. The rationale for a reverse stock split is to add respectability to the stock and convey the meaning that it isn't a junk stock. Stock repurchase. Stock repurchase is the purchasing and retiring of stock by the issuing corporation. It is a partial liquidation since it decreases the number of shares outstanding. It may also be thought of as an alternative to cash dividends.
That's all from us. Bye-bye.